Okay. What's up, everybody? Good morning. Welcome to a Thursday. We're at that point of the holidays where you literally legit forget what day it is. Welcome to a Thursday edition of Morning Scone presented by Brock, the Baton Rouge Orthopedic Clinic, Parish Construction and Roofing. If you need an orthopedist, you go to Brock. If you need a roof, you call Parish, parishbuilt.com. Unique Physique, uniquephysique.com, Restored Motions, restoredmotions.com, and On Fire Athletes, the platform powered by GameCoin. Learn more at onfireathletes.com. Okay, y'all, good morning. Hope everybody's new year is off to a great start here as we're on the second day of the year. Many people back to work, the holidays sort of over. I actually get another day, oddly. We're supposed to be back on AFR today, but with the Sugar Bowl being moved to today, we are carrying the Sugar Bowl. We're carrying all the college football playoff games on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. So with Sugar Bowl starting at 3 p.m., I'm not on air today. And incidentally, I was already planning on going to the Sugar Bowl. Yeah, it's going to be odd with that game being played at 3 o'clock today on a Thursday when many people will be back at work and there's a lot of change there. I don't know that the crowd will be great, but Eric and I are heading down to the Superdome. We are going to go to the Sugar Bowl. So actually looking forward to being there. Looking forward to being in New Orleans. I think, you say it often whenever things like what happened on New Year's morning happen, but you have to live your life and you have to not let things like that deter you. And there's a degree to that. So yeah, I want to go down. I want to support New Orleans. I want to support the Sugar Bowl. I want to be there. So Eric and I are going to go down and watch the game today. So anyway, all right, y'all, please smash the like button if you would. Subscribe to the channel, Facebook, like the page, share the post. 2 games yesterday. Texas thriller against Arizona State. It looked like the route was on early, and then Texas hit the skids. Arizona State made a charge, and a lot of drama late in that game. But Texas wins in double overtime. A better team won, so Texas advances. And then Ohio State blasts Oregon. I mean, it's to the point about people who are saying there's too many teams, the playoffs too big. How about that? So Oregon was the consensus number 1 team. They're undefeated, only undefeated team, and they went and got drilled by Ohio State. Arizona State was a team that in a shorter format wouldn't have been in the field, and they went and gave Texas everything they wanted. So it's great. Let's decide things on the field. Let's let players on the field decide things. And that's the point of a playoff. That's something that we all understand is common and understood in every other sport in the world. Yet somehow we don't want it in college football. Why? Yesterday was amazing. So here's hoping today will be also with Georgia and Notre Dame. We'll see how this game goes today. Saints getting ready for Tampa. Nothing to play for except to play spoiler. If Tampa beats the Saints, Tampa wins the division. They're in the playoffs. If the Saints win, the Falcons win. They're in the playoffs. So win the division. Ross Jackson also has a good piece up right now about how the Saints can play spoiler for Mike Evans. Mike Evans is like 85 yards away from 1,000. He's at 1,000 yards receiving every year of his career. So he needs 85. He's averaged 49 yards against the Saints over his career, but obviously that was Marshawn Lattimore. No Marshawn Lattimore. You better believe the Bucs are going to be pretty intent on making sure Mike Evans gets his targets and gets to 1,000. But just another thing to watch Sunday when the Saints and Bucs play. Also, Liam Cohen, Bucs OC, is a guy that's on a lot of short lists for head coach opportunities. Maybe something worth keeping an eye on this weekend as well. So, all right. We'll say some good mornings, y'all. Please smash the like button. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, Facebook, like the page, share the post, all that good stuff. We'll say some good mornings here. Hey, Wendell. Good morning. Thomas, good morning. Jacob, Trivia, Mark, good morning. Yeah, I don't think Sugar Bowl tickets are going to be in super high demand, not at 3 o'clock on a Thursday afternoon. Christian, good morning. Brad, good morning. Brian, good morning from Cold Springs, Minnesota. Balmy 4 degrees, snowing. Prayers to the best family and everybody involved in New Orleans. Yeah, man, absolutely. Yeah, be safe up there in that snow, man. Driving in the snow is not fun. Hey, Randall, good morning. Going to the Sugar Bowl this evening. Hope it's a good game no matter who wins. Remember, it's not this evening. It got moved to 3 o'clock. So 3 o'clock kickoff for the Sugar Bowl today. Rooney, good morning. Hope we're about to sign 2 safeties in the next few weeks. I'd say last resort, call Jacoby Matthews should happen as well. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think you're going to sign 2 or 3. I mean, I remind you, again, if you're just looking at safety play, Jordan Gilbert's back for a 5th season. I know he had his struggles this year. I think a part of that was he played with a bum shoulder all year. Spears, Toviano. I'm still very high on Spears. And then Mansour Delane from Virginia Tech can play corner or safety. So if you need him to kick back and play safety, he can. And I do believe they're going to add another safety. So I think you've got enough back there. We'll see how it goes. Hey, Chance, does Kelly have any scheduled press conference coming up? Nope. This is really a down time. So, we'll see when the portal cycle finishes, how the roster finishes. If he does any media, I could certainly try to reach out to have him on AFR, which I'll do anyway. But no, nothing scheduled. Jesse, good morning. Is Ohio State that good? Was Oregon overrated? No, I think Ohio State, first of all, the old adage, it's hard to beat the same team twice. When we saw that with LSU and Alabama back in 2011, right? LSU won a close game in Tuscaloosa, and then the rematch was a blowout. It happens often. I think Ohio State is playing its best football of the year. Obviously, I mean, they scuffled a lot this year, despite all their talent. No, I think Oregon is a good team, a really good team too. And they caught a flurry at the start of the game. I mean, the second half was very competitive. Ohio State only scored once in the second half. But that first half avalanche was too much to overcome. Club, good morning. Kid Scatterby was so much fun to watch. By the way, one more thing about Oregon. That also underscores why this thing needs to be seeded according to the rankings. Because Oregon would have had a bye, and then if you reseed like you do in the NFL, being the number 1 seed, they would have played the lowest remaining seed in the field. So Oregon would have played, I believe it would have been Clemson. No, Clemson lost their well, they wouldn't have had. I wrote all this out. So because if you seeded the field according to the rankings, and your top 4 had buys, let me just look at it. Because I know I did this whole exercise for LouisianaSports.net. So if you had gone according to your rankings, it would have been Oregon, Georgia, Texas, Penn State. All would have had a bye. Those would have been your top 4 according to your rankings. Notre Dame would have hosted Clemson. Ohio State would have hosted Arizona State. Tennessee would have hosted SMU, and Indiana would have hosted Boise. That would have been the first round. If chalk would have held, then Oregon would have played Indiana in the Rose Bowl. That's a much more agreeable draw for the number 1 team than having to play Ohio State. We can all agree on that. That's why the thing needs to be seeded according to rankings and then reseeded, like you do in the NFL. You think about it. The NFL, your division champs all get, there's a number of ones who get by, but the other division champs get a home game, and the lowest remaining seed in the second round plays the 1 seed. So you have the team that gets the bye. Like, it makes sense. There are dozens of other sports leagues that have had successful playoffs for decades and decades and decades that have shown you the path. Just follow the path that is proven to work. Okay. Hey, Kelly Gross, good morning. Thomas, good morning. Any kind of contract that binds you to a certain number of meals or time period when you use the factor meal program? Good question, Thomas. No. Like you can go week to week and alter it. So like, I mean, I was doing 10 a week. I have different like client lunches and stuff from time to time. So like I find myself, coming short of that. So I switched it to 8. And there's no penalty for it. You can do week to week if you want to change the meals you get. Like on Monday, I get a notification that says review your upcoming factor order. If I want to change the number, the meals I want to get, all that stuff, just do it week to week. Yeah, man. Prayers to the Besh family. Absolutely. How devastating. I think 4 of the victims have been identified so far. I think they're now saying it's as many as 15 people have died. And one of them, I'm sure many of you have seen now, is Jack Besh's brother, Tiger, who played at STM in Lafayette, went to Princeton, was working up in New York, actually, was in town for the holidays, and was out in New Orleans on New Year's Eve. And hey, Christian, good morning, man. Scadaboo's draft stock went up yesterday. Boy, they really smothered him in the first half, too. The second half, he went off. Really good adjustments there by Kenny Dillingham. Hey, Gary, good morning. Henry, I'll never understand why a coach decides to go away from playing great defense, sending an all-out blitz when you've been stopping them. Could have ended Texas' season. Yeah, I don't know there, man. I mean, you pick your spots when you want to pressure a quarterback, and I don't know that I agree with, like, you never blitz. I mean, I don't know. Hey, Quentin, good morning. Bronco Nation, hope you have a blessed day. Yesterday, sad day with the attack in New Orleans and the Vegas Cybertruck explosion. Yeah. I don't know that anybody was injured in Vegas. Thankfully, is that if anybody were standing right there, that could have been awful. Chance, Ohio State pounding Oregon kind of reminded me of the rematch 2011. Yeah, I mentioned that one, unfortunately. Barry, good morning. Happy New Year. With the Oklahoma tight end and portal wide receiver coming next year, how do the Tigers utilize Green? Yeah, I think, remember, Brian Kelly likes to use a lot of 2 tight end sets. Like you may not remember this. So when I've talked about this a good bit, if you look at Brian Kelly's dozen years at Notre Dame, almost always they utilized 2 tight ends. And you would have your sort of traditional tight end and your more pass catching tight end, but the traditional tight end was also a pass catcher, like Tyler Eifert, guys like that. Cole Kmet, but they also had guys like Alizé Mack. So Brian Kelly wants to utilize a lot of 2 tight end sets. Excuse me. I think they'll both be on the field a lot because you showed the best thing about a game like that for Tradez is you showed he can be on the field and you're not predictable by personnel. Because if he were just playing receiver, like if he were just flexed out playing receiver, then there's never any threat of him being a run blocker. So you put him attached, or you have him as an H back or an F back. Like, well, I guess he didn't play the F, but all the different spots that they played, like they showed he'll be in there to run block. Well, then you're not predictable by personnel when he's on the field, which is a great benefit of that. Hey, Philip, good morning. I know you said Brian Kelly wants to bring Tommy Rees on the staff. Hold on. I said Brian Kelly tried to hire Tommy Rees 3 years ago when he got the job, which is fact. He did. Brian Kelly bringing Tommy Rees on his staff now is my opinion. That's my opinion. Something might have changed with Brian Kelly over the last 3 years. I don't know that it has. Again, I'm being abundantly clear, so there's no confusion whatsoever about what I'm saying with respect to Tommy Rees. It is my 100% opinion rooted in nothing other than my opinion based on what I've seen in the past that I think Brian Kelly would hire Tommy Rees for the staff right now at this spot. It's my opinion. Okay. All right. We'll continue. If Sloan moves on to be a head coach, how do you feel about Rees being our OC? Okay. That's a good question. Those are some probably long-term hypotheticals because I don't think Joe's going to be a head coach in this cycle. But I know that Joe Sloan, and this is no secret, Joe Sloan wants to be a head coach. And I think he will be a head coach. And I do think it would make a lot of sense for Brian Kelly if he had Tommy Rees here, that if Sloan became a head coach, then Rees is just promoted to the OC. How do I feel about schemes, et cetera? I can't say I know a ton about it. I didn't watch a ton of Notre Dame when Tommy Rees was the OC there. But they had a lot of success. And Rees was there at Alabama a year ago with Saban, and they were a playoff team. They beat Georgia in the SEC championship game. They were a playoff team. So he's been high-level places and learned from high-level coaches and had high-level success, but I can't say I know a ton about nuance to answer that question. Hey, Christian, I think there's something to be said about playing in the first round rather than having a month off between games. I don't know about that. I mean, look, you can say the same thing about Boise. I think it's more the matchups. Like the problem that I have is that Boise and Arizona State, it's not that they're in the field, it's that they got buys. Like the problem is they were just completely outmanned. I don't think it was rust. I think they were just outmanned. Now, Christian, maybe as the sample grows, you may be proven right. As the sample grows, we may see more of that where teams on the bye struggle. But my submission would be if they change it and they see it according to rankings, which I think they should, and you see Oregon play Indiana, I don't think you have a result like you did yesterday, right? And then we're not talking about rust. I just think Ohio State is playing the best of any team in the field right now and just blew the doors off Oregon. Good morning, Matt. Go LSU, bring on Clemson. Hey, hey, John, good morning. One other thing real quick. I just want to point this out about the first Oregon-Ohio State game. So Oregon won that game at home 32-31. In that game, Ohio State turned the ball over twice. So Oregon was at home, won the turnover battle 2-0, and still won by 1 point. So I guess my point is, if they had played maybe a clean game, Ohio State, maybe they win the first one and we're not as surprised. But Ohio State went on the road, lost the turnover battle 2-0, and still only lost by a point. So I guess my point is, I just think Ohio State was better than Oregon both times. Oregon won the first time. They were at home. They were fortuitous, and they won. And you credit them for that. They deserved to win. But I'm not surprised that Ohio State won the second one. Hey, John, let the game decide who's the better team for that day. I'm sorry, that was Henry. Sorry. Mike, I know you said you never root for Saints loss, but in this case, it was screw the Falcons. Let's go Bucs. I mean, either way, right? And again, it's not going to nothing affects the Saints draft spot. They're drafting 10th. So, That was one of the things to try to say, like, when people were cheering for the Saints to lose last week. I'm like, it doesn't matter. Like, you're not climbing your draft stock. Clemson is in Georgia, right? No, Clemson is in South Carolina. Kirk, good morning. Thomas, Ohio State has to be the favorite at this point. Already seeing the effects of the expanded playoffs. They wouldn't have been in a 14 playoff. It's true. That's a really good point. The 14 playoff would have been Oregon, Georgia, Texas, Penn State. That's a great point. Kirk, security's going to be nuts. Get there early. Yeah, we're getting there early. But the thing, Kurt, though, I just think the crowd's going to be light too. I think there's going to be people who choose not to attend. Talking about the Sugar Bowl today, there's going to be people who choose not to attend for maybe safety reasons. It's at 3:00 on a Thursday. There's a lot of people who maybe were planning to attend at night but can't get off of work. I don't know about people that traveled, right? How many people? I already don't think it was going to be a hard sellout. And then what about people that traveled? Like, did they have to leave to get back where they were going? Did they have flights today? So I don't know. So I do think it's just going to be a lighter crowd. Hey, Rex, good morning. Seth, what did Brian Kelly light into Spears at the end of the game? I don't know that I saw that, Seth. I'll have to go back and look. My apologies. I don't know that I saw it. Hey, Barry, good morning. Nathaniel, good morning. Doing great, man. Thank you. Hope the same for you. Patrick, good morning. Happy New Year. Can't wait for Bama's burning today. Patrick, you're going to have to wait another day, man. So with the Sugar Bowl being moved to today, we are obligated to carry the college football playoff games. So we are carrying the Sugar Bowl today at 3:00. So no AFR. I'm actually going down to New Orleans for the Sugar Bowl today. Rex, watching Locked On, excited about Trade future. Yeah, man, y'all please go check out Locked On today. I did spend a good amount of time talking about the game Trade had. Brian Kelly, like, in his 16-minute press conference, there are probably 4 different questions and times he spoke about Trade. So we kind of dug a little deeper into that. I went into the Pro Football Focus grades, how they used him, all that stuff. So it's there on Locked On for today if you want to check it out. Derek, horrible no call and targeting penalty. Okay, so Derek, I want to point. I'm glad you brought it up because I was hoping we get to talk about it. Hey, Dale, real quick. So, no, that is a trust wallet issue that unfortunately happens from time to time. There's 2 things you can do. One, you can just wait, refresh, and it'll normalize. Or 2, you can delete trust wallet, re-download it, but do not do that, Dale, unless if you have your recovery phrase. If you do not have your recovery phrase, do not delete your trust wallet. Please, 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 please do not delete trust wallet unless you have your recovery phrase. But that's just a display issue in the trust wallet. GMEX, it's on the blockchain. It's not going anywhere. Your tokens are always there, and no, it's not belly up. That's just a trust wallet display issue, which unfortunately happens from time to time. Okay, on to the targeting thing. So I posted this on Twitter and got a huge amount of backlash and reaction. So it's interesting, Derek, because I've actually talked about this in particular throughout this year. T-Bob and I talked about it several times this year on Whiskey and Wine. This is my observation, 2 things that officials are doing now that I fully endorse, by the way. Like, I'm glad they didn't throw that flag. I'll explain why. There are 2 things that officials are doing that they will never talk about. They will never acknowledge publicly, but when you actually pay attention, it is happening. 1 is targeting, and 2 is the irrefutable evidence component of review. Each year since 2020, okay, go back. I think we can all agree that the targeting rule is terrible. I'm not saying anything right now I haven't said before. In theory, right, the idea is good. You want to make the game safer. In practice and execution, if you're not going to have, like, basketball as flagrant 1, flagrant 2, then the targeting rule is stupid. Because by the letter of the law, any contact to the head or neck area of a defenseless player is a 15-yard penalty and an ejection. It is so punitive. The rule is so punitive and awful that nobody likes it. I mean, the fact that we are throwing players out of games for what is sometimes negligible and incidental contact, like an offensive player is sliding or ducking, and the defensive player who has good form, good technique, head up, makes any contact with the head, is 15 yards out of the game. It's punitive. It's awful. The rule is awful. We have all said it. The targeting rule is awful. The best example is that every LSU fan will know is Devin White from 2018. It's so bad 6 years later we're still talking about it. Devin White is blitzing, makes contact with Nick Fitzgerald's helmet. Head up, face up, just barely makes contact, bouncing back, targeting, ejected, out for the first half against Bama. Like, by the letter of the law, that was targeting. No LSU fan wanted to hear it 6 years ago. But the truth is, by the letter of the rule, it's a terrible rule, by the letter of the rule, that was targeting. So what has happened now, and this is, I'll give you a subjective and an objective point of view. The objective point of view is what has happened is officials are calling targeting less, even when the targeting checkpoint factors are there. So in the game yesterday, you're talking about the Arizona State play. Yes, that was targeting. 100% was targeting. It was also a play where a defender is closing, his head is up, he's making a form tackle, and his helmet hits the receiver's helmet. Face mask hits the receiver's helmet. In no way was that a dangerous play, right? That's what we're trying to purge out of the game, of the dangerous plays. Head down, launching, spearing at someone's head. Like, in no way was that dangerous. That was a good, solid, hard football play in a key moment in the game where field position means everything, all that stuff. So they went and reviewed it, and it didn't stand. Now, I'm going to give you, you're going to say, oh, that's just because it, first of all, I don't care about, I ain't no Texas fan, don't misunderstand. I'm going to give you two instances. I'm going to have to show you on my phone. I'm going to give you two instances of plays. One that went LSU's way and one that did not. So LSU was playing Ole Miss this year. And at the end of the first half, Whit Weeks gets flagged for targeting. They review it. They pick it up. Jackson Dart is sliding. Whit Weeks comes over the top and hits his helmet. This is targeting. By the letter of the law, this is targeting. Boom. Helmet, defenseless player, sliding, contacted the helmet. That's targeting. 100% that is targeting. By the letter of the law, targeting. They reviewed it, picked up the flag. Because because there was nothing malicious there. We know the intent there was not to hurt anybody. Witt's making the tackle. The quarterback lowers his lowers the target. Witt's head's up. Like, there's nothing. Actually, his head was down, but there was nothing about that was dangerous or malicious. Now, the other one is I'm trying to find it. It was a play where Josh Williams got hit. Where is it? Man. I'm trying to find it. Well, I mean, a better example that is the Jaden Daniels Dallas Turner play last year, which was a dangerous play, which was forcible contact to the head of a defenseless player, Jaden Daniels, and they did it knocked Jaden Daniels out of the game. They didn't call that for targeting. That one went against LSU. So the point is, like, the Dallas Turner example is probably a better example of it. Like, officials are calling targeting less. So that's the subjective. The objective part is every year since 2020, the number of targeting calls has gone down every year since 2020. Are we assuming football is just like a less dangerous sport? Are we assuming like that players aren't getting hit with their helmets? I mean, come on. No, officials are calling it less. You saw it yesterday. The play yesterday would have been flagged and would have been enforced. They're not doing it anymore. That's one. Two is the two is indisputable evidence. Like, if you think about the word indisputable, it means it can't be disputed. There is no argument against. Think about the touchdown that was overturned. The Baylor touchdown at the start of the second half that was overturned the other day. Like, that's very disputable. It was ruled touchdown on the field. Now, I think his foot was probably out. It was close, but like, ruled a touchdown on the field. There was nothing indisputable. Like, you cannot say definitively there was no argument against. So the touchdown should have stood. They overturned it. Officials are using common sense and subjectivity in review as well. Those are two things. I want to spend I'm probably going to do like a full AFR segment on that and piece it all together. But so 100% by the letter of the law, yesterday that was targeting. But if you're actually paying attention in college football, and I just gave you examples for and against LSU players that we all remember that went that way. Officials are not calling targeting as much. It was on display yesterday because everybody was watching that game in that moment. But they need to stop throwing. They need to stop throwing players out of games for plays that are not dangerous. If someone launches crown of the helmet, dangerous plays, yes, okay. But and you're going to say we'll change the rule, and they're not going to change the rule because it is a player safety rule. They're not going to change the rule because of that, because of the NFL, which had $1 billion settlement in their concussion lawsuit, and the NCAA is not going to put themselves, and the schools are not going to put themselves at risk. So they have to at least have the perception of doing everything they can do for player safety. They're not going to take away a player safety rule or minimize a player safety rule, no matter how much sense it makes. There should be, just like in the NBA, flagrant 1, flagrant 2, there should be targeting 1, targeting 2. We can determine the difference between a player launching and being dangerous and what Whit Weeks did against Ole Miss. Like, anyway. All right. Guy Brooks, are you back on AFR today? I'm not. We're carrying the Sugar Bowl today because it got moved to 3:00. So we're obligated to carry the playoff games. So we were carrying the Sugar Bowl today at 3:00. I'll actually be at the Sugar Bowl. Hey, Jerry, good morning. Brad accidentally clicked on a morning scone from last year. Almost didn't recognize you. Your face was much more puffy a year ago. Yes, it was. A year ago around Christmas, I was just under 250 pounds. I'm 195 right now. Trivia, gymnastics tomorrow. Let's go, man. I'm ready. Prayers to the families of those who lost their lives, suffered injuries yesterday morning. Amen. Colton, good morning. David, good morning. I didn't realize Tiger Besh played for Princeton. Sad to hear of his passing. Yeah, man. I wouldn't even call it passing, David. He was murdered. Yes, I understand. That's devastating. I mean, 28 years old. St. Thomas More went to Princeton, was working in New York. It's devastating. Colton, I love you, New Orleans. Hey, Lowell, good morning. Jonathan, ASU and the Saints getting screwed by the refs. Yeah, I always laugh at people who blame the refs for outcomes. as if you didn't have a full 60 minutes and 2 overtime periods. I got an idea, Arizona State. How about don't give up a touchdown on 4th and 13 in overtime and you win the game? How about don't give up a punt return for a touchdown at the beginning of the game? Okay. Okay. Extra bullet seems like the buys were negative, not a positive. Yeah, I don't think it had anything to do with the buys. I think it had everything to do with the seeding. Like Boise and Arizona State weren't as good as the teams they played. And Ohio State, I think, is the best team in the field. I don't think Oregon losing had anything to do with them having a week off. I think it had everything to do with Ohio State playing awesome. LSU has a good problem next season for kick and punt returner. Who do you think gets the nod? Great question. I don't know, man. I mean, Aaron Anderson returned one for a touchdown. Xavion comes back, returns one for a touchdown. You got Barry and Brown coming in. There ain't a bad option there. Fred, good morning. Praying for Nola. What do you think about the Saints drafting Will Howard day 2 or 3? Fred, my point will continue to be the Saints need to draft a quarterback every year. If you're not going to draft a first-round quarterback, then you need to draft a middle, late-round quarterback every year until you hit on your Kirk Cousins in round 5, Dak in round 4, Russell Wilson round 3, Brock Purdy round 7. Like you got to keep, got to keep trying. Hey, Gregory, good morning. Michael Cook, good morning. Milton Burrell, good morning. Jerry, kid's a firefighter downtown with the fire department, was on duty yesterday. Said security is crazy from the quarter to the dome. Jerry, I believe that, man. Erica was asking, do you think it's safe? And I was like, baby, like, I don't know that there will ever be a safer time to be in New Orleans. Because everything is so high alert. I remember, I told you this before, my dad and I went to the World Series in 2001, so in New York. So the 9/11 attacks happened, obviously, on September the 11th. A month later, in October, we're at the World Series in New York City. I mean, the security everywhere. It was just, everyone was on high alert. I mean, you had snipers on the roof of the building. I mean, everyone went through metal detectors, which wasn't common at the time. Yeah, I don't know that there's a safer place actually to be. Gregory Thomas, what's Drew doing? Mimi and Papa are going to watch Drew today while we go to the game. Texas Tiger, good morning. Been great to watch the UM reaction videos after beating Bama. Bit disappointed how the SEC has looked this bowl season. Yeah, Texas Tiger, like, number one, I'm not a cheer for the conference guy. And number two, whatever, man. Like, bowl games have opt-outs and there's a question of motivation. And it's just not what it meant. And the truth also is the SEC wasn't a great league this year. Even at the top of the league. I mean, Georgia was clearly very flawed. Texas is clearly a very flawed team. I mean, Ole Miss lost 3 games. I mean, who was the definitive top of the league, you know? I think the bottom maybe was stronger this year. State and Kentucky really struggled a ton, but Vandy won 6 games. Oklahoma was a bottom tier team in the SEC and beat Alabama and had some nice moments. Brian Wynn, Bassa Mardini, hello from Doha. Okay, man. Look at that. First time joining live. I love it. What time is it in Qatar? Let's see, it's 9:16 a.m. here. Hey, Siri, what time is it in Doha, Qatar?
In Doha, Qatar, it's 6:16 p.m.
6:16. And do you say Qatar or Qatar? I remember 20 years ago, there was that big thing. Is it Qatar or Qatar? And then I seem to remember people saying Qatar was how you pronounce it. Anyway, but thanks for watching, man. That's awesome. Thomas, Matt, if you yell loud enough, maybe you'll be on the air today. Seth, when Baylor fumbled the ball, Spears jumped on it. Oh, that's when Spears was getting yelled at. Steven, during the season, I've watched a boatload of games. There's been much less contact than that yesterday and had been called. It was more uniform, called the same across the board. I would be okay. I don't know, man. It's the objective fact is we have seen, I know you've watched a bunch of football. We have seen the instances of targeting called reduced every year since 2020. Like, that is objective fact. Was that targeting by the letter of the law? Yes. But so was Dallas Turner's hit against Jaden Daniels last year. And so was Devin White's hit in 2018. My point is, they're calling it less. Milton, this may be a naive question. With our modern technology, why can't they make a helmet that completely protects the player? Milton, I mean, I think they keep looking at that, but you're talking about giant humans running at a large rate of speed, colliding into each other. I mean, that's like saying, why can't you make a car that completely protects everybody? You do your best, but you know. Steven, while we're discussing targeting, the roughing the passer personal foul needs to be addressed in the offseason. Quarterbacks are flopping more and more with the defensive player making contact a split second after delivery. Common sense, you can't make a defensive player stop on a dime. I agree with that. And I think they're trying better. They're coaching it better. They're coaching it better in the NFL, certainly, because the rule is way more punitive in the NFL. But I think the rule is less, even still in college, than the NFL. But yeah. Steven, if you watch zone read A-gap runs, you call targeting almost every run. The difference is a running back is not a defenseless player. I understand your point, but a running back isn't defenseless. A receiver that catches and starts upfield is not defenseless. And that would be the difference. Like the Weeks play we talked about, Dart is giving himself up. He's sliding, so he becomes defenseless. So that should have been targeting on Weeks. They reviewed it and waved off the flag. They should have, because it was not. There's no reason to eject a player from a game for that. Yes, we are still going to the game. Hey, Jeff, good morning, my dude. Hope you're doing well. Let's see. I agree. It's like holding every play. Yeah. Let's see. The guy on the call explained it. Had the wide receiver toe tap, drug his feet, it would have been a touchdown. Toe touched the side. I understand that, Steven, but you and I cannot objectively say with 100% certainty that he didn't have his feet in bounds down first and that before he touched out. Like, there's a degree of subjectivity, and there has to be an indisputable component, man. I'm with you. Sorry, I lost my spot in the comments. I just lost my spot in the comments. All right, please smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, Facebook, like the page, share the post. All of our great sponsors linked in the description on YouTube, tagged on Facebook. It's blowing up. As always, shout out to Brock and Parrish. Need North Peach, go to Brock. You need a roof, give us a shout at Parrish. Our crews are back. Everybody's rolling. So if you have an issue with your roof, we'd love to help you out. Parrishbuilt.com. Unique Physique. Remember, new year, looking at losing weight, semaglutide, tirzepatide, the weight loss shots you've heard so much about. No contracts, lowest prices. As a matter of fact, they just recently instituted 3-month pricing. So if you pay for 3 months at a time, you save $100 on your medicine. They can deliver it, ship it anywhere in the country, and you do the whole thing over telemed. So you don't even have to go into the office. Super easy process. Unique Physique, uniquephysique.com. Kyle, refs are trying to screw Texas. I don't know if they're trying to screw Texas. Charlie, as an American, a veteran, an STM alum, I'm heartbroken and angry. I know, man. It's like, what do you... There's a degree of helplessness, right? Like if someone is going to have that in their heart and on their mind, how do you stop them from doing it? You could, protect against it as best as you want or can try, but ugh. Hey, Brian, you have projected starting lineup on the defense next year. Too soon? Probably too soon, but I mean, I think Patrick Payton at one defensive end. I think Guillory and McKinley, probably your defensive tackle starters. Jack Pyburn, probably your other starting defensive end. Harold Perkins at the star. Witt and Devon Keys at linebacker. The secondary is much more challenging to project. I would guess to start, Ashton Stamps is probably one of your corners. And the other is, you get Jakeem Jackson, DJ Pickett, Mansour Delane, PJ Woodland, all battling for the other. I think Mansour Delane could kick back and play safety. I still think they're going to add a safety here in the portal that we'll hear about soon, that we're assuming will be a day one starter. So a little more challenging in some of those spots. August, go Tigers. Morning, you'll be safe. We will, man. Make defense great again. I vote to name next year's LSU offense the Legion of Zoom. Milton, if you ever want to see a flopping fest, watch an NBA game. They've actually done a really good job of purging the flops out of the NBA by finding guys that flop. I don't know if you watch a ton of NBA anymore, Milton, but like it was a real problem, and they've done a good job of purging it by finding guys that flop. Jerry, ASU fans were complaining about the no targeting call when ASU had the interception toward the end of the game. The second defender probably should have been called for targeting on the receiver. When you see literally launch into the receiver. Brian Wynn asked, I guess it's Ask Erica Georgia Notre Dame. She's going hard for Notre Dame because of Mike Denbrock. So my brother's a Notre Dame grad, so he and my nephew Anthony will be at the game with us. So I'm looking forward to going to spend time with my brother and my nephew and watch a good football game. Hopefully a good game today. But yeah, Erica's going hard for Notre Dame because of Mike Denbrock. Loves her some Mike Denbrock. Thomas, what are we missing so far? All right, Thomas. Good call.
Parish Construction and Roofing. At Parish, we've got you covered. From the top of your roof, all the way down. Parish Construction and Roofing. Parish built. Parish built. Parish built. From your hometown. ParishBuilt.com.
All right. Okay, y'all, please smash the like button if you would. Subscribe to the channel, Facebook, like the page, share the post. Where are we? Milton, I don't watch the NBA. I watch the Pelicans. Well done, man. Besides safety, other needs, they're going to try to add another offensive tackle. Besides that, I think you're set. Seth, where are y'all sitting? In the stadium. There you go. All right, y'all. Be good. Y'all have a great day. I'm going to get out of here. We're hitting the road here in about an hour. We're going to head down to New Orleans and grab some lunch and then go into the stadium and watch the game. So, thanks, y'all, for being here. As always, please smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, Facebook, like the page, share the post. As always, please support our great sponsors. They're linked in the description on YouTube, tagged on Facebook. One more day with no AFR. So I apologize, but with the Sugar Bowl being moved, we have to carry the Sugar Bowl. So we're carrying the Sugar Bowl today at 3:00. So AFR, I'll be at the game. So AFR tomorrow, Friday. But Locked on LSU is live. Did kind of a deep dive into Trades Green's game, the Pro Football Focus numbers from LSU Baylor, and a little bit of what Brian Kelly had to say after the game about next year for 2025. So all that's there if you want to check it out. Okay, y'all have an awesome day. Thanks so much for being